The Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity was disbanded after Democrats obstructed their investigation and several states refused to comply with information requests. President Trump handed the investigation over to the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and now Democrats will have a hard time blocking the investigation into voter fraud, which a recent Pew Research study suggests is rampant. The Presidential Commission was set up in order to investigate voter impersonation, vote buying, non-citizen voting, dead voters, felon voting, fraudulent addresses, registration fraud, elections officials fraud, and duplicate voting, said the Government Accountability Institute. While the investigation was hampered by Democrats, Pew Research conducted a study and found 1.8 million registered voters who were deceased, another 24 million with invalid voter registrations, and 2.75 million people registered in more than one state. While underage voting is a problem, with 292 minors voting during the 2016 general election, the dead people casting ballots is more concerning. The Presidential Commission uncovered 45,880 voters who cast ballots in the 2016 presidential election who were more than 115 years old, many of whom were born before 1700. These numbers are vastly underreported because of the Commission's inability to get states under a Democratic stronghold to comply with voter information requests. In many states the voter fraud is so rampant they have more people on their voter rolls than actual eligible voters in the state. Alaska, California, Colorado, Washington, D.C., Indiana, Kentucky, Maine, and Michigan all had more voters on the rolls than eligible citizens. Considering not everyone eligible to vote registers, this indicates an enormous amount of fraud being perpetrated in an effort to rig elections. Non-citizens voting in our election is also a rampant issue. Virginia is not a hotbed for immigrants, illegal or otherwise, and it still saw 7,474 non-citizens cast ballots in the state. Because Virginia is a swing state, it is especially important that their election results are not tampered with by foreign nationals in our country trying to rig elections. California did not comply with the Presidential Commission. Had they done so, it is likely the number of non-citizens voting in the Golden State would have been of astronomical proportions. The Commission also found that over 45,000 people voting in the 2016 presidential election cast ballots in multiple districts, voting multiple times. People are district hopping to multiply their votes, and the Democrats are unconcerned with the impact of this unscrupulous behavior and have blocked all attempts to purge the rolls of these bad actors. Democrats often fight voter identification laws which would force citizens to provide ID before casting ballots in our elections. President Trump finds the policy of allowing people with no ID to vote to be absurd, stating in a tweet, "As Americans, you need identification, sometimes in a very strong and accurate form, for almost everything you do. Except when it comes to the most important thing, voting for the people that run your country, push hard for voter identification." Democrats are fighting to keep the voting system in America virtually unregulated. While the evidence is clear that millions of ineligible voters are capable of casting ballots each year in our elections, Democrats have no interest in correcting this. They are protecting their illegal immigrant voters, their non-citizen voters, their dead voters, and their ineligible voters because they help keep the scales tilted in their favor. For Democrats, winning elections is the most important thing, and if that means condoning, encouraging, and protecting criminals, so be it. With DHS taking over the investigation, election officials will be subject to prosecution, as will illegal voters. Democrats will also be unable to obstruct their efforts by filing frivolous lawsuits and blocking the release of crucial information requested. The law enforcement agency will have far more latitude on how it pursues the case moving forward, with far more resources and reach than the Presidential Commission had. Democrats claim that voter fraud accusations are unfounded despite the mountains of evidence to the contrary. A thorough investigation into voter fraud will be carried out by DHS, and the true impact of this epidemic will become clearer the deeper the department digs. Democrats stand to lose big if voter ID laws are implemented and their dead and ineligible voters become purged, so expect them to fight this investigation to the bitter end.